is happy until the new heavens and the new earth. And so Paul gives us some instructions in Romans chapter 12, beginning in verse 9, that Glenn read. Basically, he says, overcome evil with good, weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice. We recognize that in this world, under the sun, there is goodness and there is badness, and so we should share the joy of those who are experiencing joy. Be glad and happy for them. And also when we encounter people who are going through hard times, we want to be compassionate and empathetic toward them. Under the sun, genuinely, God is allowing situations in which people will not find justice, in which oppression will not be ended. God is allowing that to lead us to Him. But He promises that in the new heavens and the new earth, under the new sun, the radiance of God's glory, all things will be made right. And the Beatitudes, Matthew chapter 5, Jesus says, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And in Revelation 21, verse 4, this beautiful picture of the new heavens and the new earth, we read that death will be no more, neither will there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things will have passed away. Jesus will wipe every tear from our eyes. You see, God knows all about oppression. He's not standing on the sidelines because He doesn't know about it and He doesn't care. We read about the Hebrew mothers under Pharaoh, whose baby boys were being killed by Pharaoh. And the people turned to God and cried out, God, deliver us from this oppression. And when God heard the collective voice of His people crying out, He acted. So God will act when the cry goes up, when people are turning to Him. That's when the purpose of the oppression has reached its goal. When we turn to God and cry out and say, God, enough is enough. We need You. We can't help ourselves. Save us. Then God will come and act decisively in power and in glory. And of course, Jesus, God Himself, was oppressed. He suffered abuse and mistreatment. He was unjustly condemned to death when He was in fact totally sinless, totally guiltless, not only before God's law, but even before the civil law. It was a great injustice. But He submitted to injustice and oppression in order to take on Himself the punishment that is due to His people. So if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, what that means is that God's just judgment, the punishment that you actually have coming to you, was laid on Christ so that it will not be laid on you when you stand before the judgment seat of God. In this world under the sun, there will be injustice and wickedness and oppression, even in the places where you should expect and have a right to expect justice and comfort and protection. But when God comes to purify His own people from sin once and for all, and to root all wickedness out of the world that belongs to Him, then and only then will there be perfect justice and righteousness and safety without fear forever and ever. So what would this passage in Ecclesiastes teach? What would the wisdom of this passage be? That both those who oppress and commit injustices and those who are oppressed and the victims of injustice should fear God and turn to Him for their forgiveness on the one hand and for their deliverance on the other. Those who are victims do have a champion. They do have a defender. There will be justice in the end, but only justice through Jesus Christ. Let's pray.